Steve Weiser, how wide is your strike zone? How wide is your strike zone? Steve Weiser.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. 20 years ago, 1995-96, a noted college baseball coach gave a talk to an assembly of baseball coaches. His name was John Scolinas. This is my take on the gist of his message. Last week, when I was thinking about this speech, I went out to the Greene County Rec Center down on Union Point Highway. And I went to the baseball field, and I measured home plate. You know how wide home plate is for a Little League baseball team? So I think, well, okay, that's one bit of data. So I went up to Greene County High School, and I looked at the baseball field at Greene County High School, measured that home plate. Do you know how wide that one was? He says, okay, now I got 2 data points. I'm a mathematician, I know this stuff. So now I went to the next step. I went to Georgia, the NCAA Division I. Check that home plate. You know how wide that was? 3 data points, only got 1 more. I went to Atlanta to the Bigs. Went to SunTrust Stadium down in the middle of the traffic. Measured the home plate at SunTrust Stadium. You know what? That one measured 17 inches across. My conclusion, after all of this research, that every home plate on every baseball field at every level is 17 inches wide. So whether you're my grandson pitching for the Decatur Devil Dogs in the 10 and under league, or you're Mike Fulton-Wise of the Atlanta Braves, an all-star pitcher, home plate is 17 inches wide. And it's always been that way. It was that way for Cy Young, for Babe Ruth, for Whitey Ford, Sandy Koufax, Don Larson, and Roger Clemens. All of them Hall of Fame pitchers. They all had to pitch to that same strike zone. Now what happens when a pro can't hit the strike zone? He can't make the ball go across that 17-inch space. Does someone say, well, Roger, or well, Mike, I understand you're having a tough time. We'll make it 19 inches wide until you get your stuff back. They don't say that. They say, Bubba, you're out of the Braves. You go down to the making whoopee until you get your fundamentals back together the way they're supposed to be. So this raises a question in my mind. What happens when we fall short of our own goals, or have our children miss the targets that we set for them? We need to teach accountability to our youth. If there's no consequence for failure to meet expectations, we just widen home plate for them. And we make any successes they make less meaningful. This has become a problem these days at home, in our schools, centers of government, in workplaces, in the halls of education, in elementary school, secondary school, in the universities. The quality of education is diminishing. Why? Because the teachers have been stripped of the tools needed to effectively set goals for their students. We have allowed others to arbitrarily widen home plate. Our schools have allowed the politically correctness to widen the plate. No more prayer, no more pledge, no discipline, no accountability for actions. When people we respect, people we love, people we lead, fail to meet our expectations, do we widen the plate for them? We need to demand accountability for performance, for loyalty, for integrity, and for honesty. Our political leaders, they have become beholden to lobbyists, large donors, and foreign interests. We have allowed them to make rules that do not apply to them. The political home plate has been widened for many so that their strike zone no longer includes their constituency. The founders of this great country set a very clear definition of home plate. It's called the Constitution of the United States. But we've let some of these politicians widen home plate. We all need to stop for a minute and refocus on that 17 inches. We must hold ourselves, our children, our spouses, and the political leaders accountable to a higher degree, a more consistent standard, a standard that we know is right. If we are unwilling or unable to provide those consequences, our schools, churches, and government fail to hold ourselves accountable to those they serve. There's only one thing that we can look forward to when this happens: dark times ahead. We can no longer allow home plate to be widened just for convenience. Madam Toastmaster.